What's up, everybody? It's Peter Tragos, the lawyer you know, and on this channel, we break down the trials and cases you care most about so you can understand how the American civil and criminal justice system works. And we try to make sure you understand what your rights are in every situation, which is why we try to walk you through the entire legal process while also answering your insightful questions along the way. And while it's not legal advice, it's always exciting. So buckle up for another episode of The Lawyer You Know. What's up, everybody? We're here live, hanging out together this week. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Christmas and is planning on a great new year. Happy holidays to everyone, and I'm glad you could join us for a live to talk and chat through something that I think is actually kind of a big deal and something that I think we're going to be seeing a little more of as these cases get national attention. People want to be a part of them. They want to help, but they also want to try to gain followers in this world of social media influencers on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, whatever it may be. Bodie said Arizona shirt. Thank you. It's got like a Navajo vibe to it. Reminds me of Yellowstone, kind of, appreciate you noticing, Bodie, and everybody else who's commenting on it. But this is this is interesting to me because it's one thing to try to help, to give tips to the tip line, to see what you can find to help law enforcement. It's another thing to make declaratory statements. And we learned a lot about defamation with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. And this is a little bit of an additional step that, no, Brianna, surprise, not a premiere. We're live and in color, as they say. But so this is really interesting to me. And I did want to talk about it with you all, get your questions, figure out what's going on, what you think about it. Sarah Beth, we are in North Carolina. We drove up yesterday and we are here. We're hanging out. We went to some shops today. The weather's beautiful. It's 25 degrees when we got up. It's about 40 now. It's amazing here. Looking out at the mountains. So live times will be sporadic this week. There may not be a ton of lead up time. I'm going to do as many as I can. Robin said, "You look rested." I feel rested. I feel great. Thank you for everybody that said a prayer, thought about me for the lost voice and things that, everybody's kind of going through colds and stuff. We're feeling great now, though. So what we're talking about today is this TikToker who was apparently sued for defamation by a professor at the University of Idaho, because this TikToker claims to solve these mysteries online, putting things together. I believe she also is a tarot card reader or a future teller, soothsayer, or something. I don't know. I don't want to put any of that on her label wise, but I've just read some articles on it. People have sent me some stuff on it. And today we are actually going to read through the complaint that the Idaho professor filed. So we're going to know exactly what is said in this complaint. I haven't read it yet. So we're going to get the details. I also want to kind of show that, I don't know what order I should do this in, but I am going to show the TikToker's TikTok page to show she does in fact make videos that say this Idaho professor was in on it, planned it, ordered it, whatever it may be. So we're just going to kind of scroll through and see that is in fact something that she is doing. She's also now backing down since this complaint has come down. And before this complaint, because a lot of you have talked to me about this before, and we have kind of talked about cease and desist letters, and people call me to write cease and desist letters. And usually I won't. I definitely won't if we're not going to follow through with a lawsuit, because I don't want our letters to be meaningless. If we send a letter from our law firm and you see that letterhead, a lawsuit's coming if you don't stop doing whatever our client asked you to do or to stop doing. So in this case, though, they sent multiple cease and desist letters to the TikToker. And what that tells me is that they did want to try to get rid of this quietly. They did not want to file a lawsuit. They did not want to make this a national story. It does seem like this Idaho professor just wanted this to go away. Obviously, she's negatively affected by being, accused of murdering students at the school that she's a professor at. And there's more that she was accused of. So she did send multiple cease and desist letters. And for me, legally speaking, that shows she did want this to go away without a lawsuit. You absolutely do not have to send multiple cease and desist letters. Sometimes there are conditions precedent where you have to send a letter telling them to stop, letting them know what actions they're taking that are improper or illegal or are injuring you, and you need to tell them to stop. And that may be the case in Idaho for this, where you may have to at least send one. I don't believe that's the case, and I know you don't have to send multiple. Yet they did, because they are trying to do everything they could to make this go away because of how it's affecting her, her family, her job, things like that. And she did not stop. The TikToker did not stop. And she basically mocked the filings against her. And so we end up getting to a federal lawsuit in Idaho. So hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're interested in anything going on with these Idaho cases, it's like a case within a case, my sister said today, when we were talking about this a little bit. And it does feel that way. It feels like a case within a case. Nicholas, congratulations. I saw you just you're going to become a grandfather. This reminds me of that time 2 psychics entered American Idol because their cards said they would win. Spoiler, they didn't. And Don Studley, thanks for joining the membership crew along with Katrina. All right, so here we go. Let's get to this complaint. All right. So, United States District Court for the District of Idaho. Federal court. We'll talk about how we get to federal court. Some of you may already know from watching our other videos, but we'll talk about how we get to federal court and why it's not just in Idaho State Court. And Rebecca Schofield is the professor. Ashley Gillard is the TikToker. So introduction, some background of how we got here, okay? Because it's always important. How did we get here? And a lot of times it's important to let the court know how we got here. In November of 2022, 4 students at the University of Idaho were murdered at a home near the campus. The tragedy has garnered attention and inflicted great sorrow throughout the university, the state, and the country. Defendant Ashley Gillard, a purported internet sleuth, decided to use the community's pain for her online self-promotion. She has posted many videos on TikTok falsely stating that plaintiff Rebecca Schofield, a professor at the university, participated in the murders because she was romantically involved with one of the victims. That's another one of the statements here. Romantically involved with one of the victims. Gillard's statements are false. Professor Schofield did not participate in the murders, and she had never met any of the victims, which is interesting, right? Because I got to think about it. When I went to Florida State, there were tons of professors I had never met. So it's not weird that you haven't met a professor that's at your school. So she has never even met any of these victims, let alone had a romantic relationship with them. Gillard's videos have been viewed millions of times, amplifying Gillard's online persona at the expense of Professor Schofield, at the expense of her reputation. Professor Schofield now sues Gillard for defamation. The parties are Rebecca Schofield, the professor, and Gillard, the TikToker who lives in Texas, okay? Lives in Idaho, lives in Texas. So how did we get to this jurisdiction? Well, jurisdiction is proper in this federal court because we have diversity of citizenship, meaning Schofield lives in Idaho, Gillard lives in Texas, so 2 different states, and the amount in controversy is above $75,000. That's what you have to get in order to get to federal court. They have those 2 elements. And venue is proper in Idaho because a substantial part of the events that give rise to the claims, this is where she lives, this is where the murders are they're talking about, this is where a lot of the stuff is happening in Idaho, so it's proper in Idaho. All right, factual allegations. In the early morning hours of November 13, 2022, 4 students at the University of Idaho were tragically murdered in a home near campus. It is a tragedy that has gripped the entire university community, forever affected the students' families, brought tremendous sorrow throughout the state of Idaho, and garnered national attention. To respect the privacy of the victims and their families, we're going to call them by their initials, which I think is great. Professor Schofield was not in Moscow, Idaho, when the murders occurred. She and her husband were in Portland, Oregon, visiting friends. And I think it's important to say the law enforcement has ruled her out. She is not a suspect. They are not investigating her as a suspect. So I think that's all important. It's Idaho, not Idaho. Sorry. Idaho is how I pronounce it. They stayed in a hotel checking out in the morning of November 13th after the murders occurred, and they drove from Portland to Moscow, Idaho, a drive of more than 5 hours, arriving after law enforcement officers had discovered the murders. Okay, so pretty good alibi. Seems like it checks out. And law enforcement, like I said, is not investigating her at this point. All right. Professor Schofield did not commit or in any way participate in the murders of the 4 students. Professor Schofield has taught at the University of Idaho since January of 2016, became the chair of the history department in 2021. None of the 4 students who were murdered ever took a class from Professor Schofield. Although the University of Idaho is relatively small, she does not ever recall meeting any one of the students. To me, that's very, very interesting. She never met Ashley Gillard either, who is the defendant in this case. Ashley Gillard promotes herself on Amazon and TikTok as an internet sleuth that solves high-profile, unsolved murders by consulting tarot cards and performing other readings to obtain information about the murders. She has purported to solve the murders of musician Kershank Kari Ball, Shanquella Robinson, Tiffany Valiente, Kevin Samuels, and the November murders of the University of Idaho. Okay? So she claims to solve those murders. Whether or not it's true, who the heck knows, but to me it sounds doubtful. What's interesting is to claim that you have done this as if it is a fact. That's important in a defamation case, right? And obviously, if you could solve these things, we've seen shows like Monk and House and these detective shows where if you do that, tarot, okay. If you do that, then, you could work for law enforcement. You could help a lot of people. You could solve a lot of crimes. But doing it online is kind of getting into a sensitive subject of what people are doing and how sure they are, and not just uncovering facts. That's why I say in this case, we never do, on this channel, I should say, we never do the whodunits. Do I think that could get a lot of views? Yes. Do I think that people would be interested in how I would connect the dots and how I would come up with who I think did it and why? Yes. But that's not what this is about. That's not what this channel is about. That's not what I try to do. That's not what I would ever do anyway. It's not what I do in my normal life. Right? We talk about specifically the legal aspects. When a lawyer's involved, when a lawsuit's been filed, when people are making claims, how the prosecutor and the judge and the defense attorneys act, how they're putting together the cases. That's what we talk about. So it's interesting, when we get to these types of situations where people are trying to figure it out. Isabel said, you're not a detective, brother. Absolutely. But guess what? Even if I was a detective, if I came online and did this investigation and said somebody did it, could be problematic. It could really, really be problematic. And we'll see why. And there are elements of defamation that make this interesting as well. TikTok is a social media platform through which persons can post short videos, typically of no more than 1 to 2 minutes. TikToks primarily are recorded by a person using her own cell phone to record a video and then posting through the person's account on TikTok. Individuals with TikTok accounts can review other people's TikTok accounts, can post comments, and repost other TikTok posts. On or about November 22nd, Gillard began posting TikTok videos about the November murders of Idaho. She asserted that the murders had some history with one or more of the victims and that the murderer was somebody who previously was involved with one of the victims, possibly an ex. On information and belief, Gillard has never been to Moscow or any other location in Idaho. And she had no basis to make the factual statements about any of the events that have occurred there. And again, this is going to be, is it intentional? Did she know what she was saying was false? Or was it reckless? She knew or should have known that what she was saying is false, or shouldn't have said it. On or about November 24th, 2022, Gillard posted 6 TikTok videos to her account. Ashley is in the Book of Life, I guess is what her TikTok page is called, in which she falsely states that Professor Schofield, the chair of the history department, was responsible for the 4 students' deaths. 2 of the TikToks directly and falsely state that Professor Schofield ordered the execution of the 4 students. 2 of the TikToks directly and falsely state that Professor Schofield, 3 of the TikToks either falsely implied or directly stated that Professor Schofield had been involved in a relationship with one of the murdered students, KG. Three of the TikToks Gillard posted to her website on November 24, 2022, also used Professor Schofield's photo from the University of Idaho website. Upon information and belief, Gillard did not ever receive permission to use Professor Schofield's official university photograph. Gillard's November 24, 2022 TikTok was not based on any fact or any information known to Gillard. Her statements that Professor Schofield ordered the murders and that Professor Schofield had a relationship with one of the victims are false. Because we know truth is an ultimate defense. On the following day, November 25th, 2022, Gillard posted an additional 5 TikTok videos falsely alleging that Professor Schofield ordered and planned the murders of 4 students. And 3 of the videos, Gillard falsely stated that Professor Schofield and a student at the University of Idaho, JD, together planned the murders of the 4 students. Professor Schofield has also not met student JD and has never ever had him in a class. She has never partnered with him on anything, and she did not partner with him to murder the students. Gillard's November 25th TikToks were not based on any fact, any information, knowledge to Gillard. Her statements that Professor Schofield partnered with another student carry out the murders are false. This is interesting, right? Because, I mean, we're in some gray areas as to whether or not this is going to be a successful claim for defamation. I see a lot of you in the comments feeling like it's a scam or feeling like, she needs to be held liable for this. I think if she lied and she knew that she lied and she knew what she was doing was false, then absolutely. But does she have some information that leads her to think this is true? Is this an opinion? We've got to look at it both ways, right? We got to be fair as going into this. I don't know the answer, but that's what makes a lawsuit interesting. This is how we get answers, sometimes legally speaking. On November 28th, she posted 6 TikToks falsely alleging, either by explicitly stating or posting text with her videos, that Professor Schofield participated in or was otherwise responsible for the murders. One of them was, quote, Rebecca Schofield's thoughts as she ordered the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students. There's no doubt in my mind, based on this and when we look at the TikTok page, that she absolutely does say that Rebecca Schofield is responsible. Gillard's November 28, 2022 TikToks were not based on fact or information, and they're false. By November 28, Gillard had been directly informed that her TikTok videos alleging that Professor Schofield was involved in the murders were false. So up to that point, she can at least have an argument that she thought it was true based on X, Y, and Z. But on November 28th, my guess is that's the cease and desist letter. She continued to post on her TikTok, aware that they were false. My guess is Schofield told her, I have an alibi. The police aren't investigating me anymore. I was in Oregon. And then at that point, it could become legally more difficult for Gillard to argue this. And then she said, I don't care what y'all say. JD and Rebecca Schofield killed them. On November 29th, Professor Schofield, through her counsel, sent a cease and desist letter informing her that her videos stating that Professor Schofield was involved in the murders or that she had a romantic relationship with KG were false and defamatory, demanding she take them down, demanding that she cease making such videos, and demanding that she issue an apology. Gillard did not stop. She continued defaming Professor Schofield. about the murders and the relationship. On November 29th and 30th, she posted additional videos falsely stating Professor Schofield was involved in ordering or directing the execution. Since December 1st, 2022, Gillard has continued to make false statements in her TikTok videos, falsely asserting Professor Schofield's involvement in the murder of the 4 University of Idaho students and falsely stating Professor Schofield was ordering the murder. Some quotes: Rebecca Schofield is going to prison for the murder of the 4 Idaho students. Another quote: I'm not worried about Rebecca Schofield suing me because she will be using her resources to fight for murder cases. She ordered the execution, the murders. Professor Schofield's motive in ordering the murders and finding someone to carry it out was because she was dating a student. Professor Schofield decided to kill the student because KG wanted to take a break in their relationship. These are factual statements. These are factual statements. This is tough. This is really, really tough. As Tori said, words do have meaning. Schofield was going to help the person she hired to carry out the murders achieve the person's dream of playing on the University of Idaho tennis team. JD killed the 4 students because Becca told me to. A reporter with the Spokesman Review newspaper was protecting the killer in the article suggesting TikToks were false. So I guess the alibi, that's how you get around the alibi. She ordered somebody to do it. As with Gillard's prior TikToks falsely stating that Professor Schofield was involved, the December TikTok had no basis in fact and were false. Persons with TikTok accounts can comment on the TikTok posts of others they follow. Many users warned Gillard that her statements were false and that she was defaming Professor Schofield, among others. I'm going to get to some questions. You guys have some good questions. I'm going to get some questions after we finish these general allegations. Equally concerning, other TikTokers commented that they believe Gillard's false statements that Professor Schofield ordered the murders, and they have wondered when Professor Schofield, I'm sorry, let me read that again. Sorry, making false statements for her statements. Despite the warning multiple times by persons commenting on her TikTok, she continued. Equally concerning, not just for people warning her that they were false, but equally, and I would say even more concerning, some people believed Gillard's statements that she was romantically involved with one of the victims and that she should be brought to justice. And that's majorly concerning and damaging to her reputation, to her family. On December 8th, Professor Schofield sent a second cease and desist letter demanding that she stop and take them down. Rather than change her conduct, she made a TikTok showing the cease and desist letter and explaining that if Professor Schofield, through counsel, believes she was making false statements, she needs to file the actual legal documents in federal court, asking me to remove it, and a judge will determine if I need to remove it. It's not necessarily how it works. It could be too late, and there could be major damages and problems now at this point. So she's basically mocking that legal process, saying, if you think it's true, then go ahead and file the statements. All right, a couple more paragraphs, then we'll get to some questions. Also, after receiving the cease and desist letter, Gillard on December 18th and 19th posted more than 20 new TikTok videos falsely stating Professor Schofield was involved with KG and her motives for murder was making the relationship public. Gillard has continued to publish false statements about Professor Schofield with no basis, and they're false. Professor Schofield has never met Gillard. She does not know her. She does not know why Gillard picked her and repeatedly falsely accuses her. Gillard's false TikToks have damaged her reputation. They have caused her significant emotional distress. I think that's a given, a guarantee. She fears for her life and the life of her family members. She's incurred costs, including the cost to install security cameras at her residence, and she fears the false statements may motivate someone to cause harm to her. And I think that's absolutely true. People want this killer brought to justice. And I think that this professor is right to be worried. Do you agree? And the problem with people that are making these public stances, and I feel it myself, I sit here, I have a platform, I talk. If I wanted to trash somebody in the comments, if I wanted to make fun of somebody or rip them apart, I could put, let's just do this here, just because I know I love John and I know the feeling's mutual here. If I wanted to be like, John O'Rourke, this guy, and I wanted to just tear John apart, guess what? I could mute John. I could make John not be able to comment, not be able to respond, not be able to defend himself, make him look like a fool. I could do all of this. John would have no recourse. I've got the platform, right? And so we have to remember that. And this TikToker has that platform. She started down a path. Here's John, just so everybody knows. John's cool with it. She started down a path, and she has continued down that path. And when the professor's trying to keep it out of the news, when the professor's trying to make it go away, stop talking about me, please, sending private cease and desist letters, she's making it public. The TikToker is showing it to everybody, blasting it out there, and it's tough. It's really tough. And I see some people saying, Peter, you need to make sure all your stuff is opinion. I appreciate that. I love everybody looking out. I'm good, though. Everything I say, I'm good with. I can back up. If somebody tells me I'm wrong, I'll come on and apologize and say I was wrong. But a lot of this stuff, as I say, it could go either way. And it's just interesting to me. Even this case, even Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. This is the legal angles. And it is pretty clearly my opinion when I say, this is how I would do it. This is how they're doing it. This is what the statute says. It's not legal advice. That's important to always note. And I do have in the description of all my videos, I'm not giving anybody any specific legal advice. Let's get to some of your questions here. Michelle Woods, a case within a case. I feel Inception, the movie coming out. It does feel like that, But what I think is cool about this is we can learn so much as a community. And this is kind of cutting edge stuff. This is newer stuff without a ton of precedent to look at. Lindsay says you shouldn't be able to make up lies about someone for views. 100% I agree with you. I'm not saying that's what she did, but I do agree with you. You should not be able to do this. And I think that our states are going to have to consider coming up with laws to protect against this stuff. And there are some that do protect, and we'll talk about that. Tina Odell, were the police ever investigating her? And if so, why? I don't know, but I do know that she is not currently a suspect. John O'Rourke. So have Gil and Professor Schofield ever met? If not, then the act wasn't malicious or malevolent. Is that what you're meaning? No. They do not have to meet for this to be malicious. They do not have to meet for there to be actual malice. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the differences in defamation statutes as well once we get to the causes of action. Sherry King, suppose there's any case law regarding tarot cards, readings, and predictions. So I will say, there are groups of people sometimes that travel from town to town doing things like this. Some of them are protected, some of them are not. But many of them have been arrested, charged, and prosecuted and convicted of fraud, of taking money from people, telling them they're telling the future or, answering questions for them, and they have been convicted of fraud. So there is some criminal angles to this potentially. Now, just putting it out there on TikTok is different. It may be fraud. It may not. Bodie asked, could conviction carry jail time or just money? So for this civil cause of action that they're filing in federal court, it's just money. Money and potentially specific action we call specific performance, like taking the video down. But fraud or potentially some kind of cyber bullying or cyber stalking or things like that could have criminal angles to it that, depending on what happens in this case, could end up coming out. Jay said, I'm watching her TikTok now and oof, Peter, she might be in trouble. And Barbara said, Peter, have you watched any of her TikToks? I have seen some of them. And it's not good. That's what I'm saying. She's not trying to say I didn't say these things. She's saying it's true, and I'm fine because the truth covers me, and she's going to be in trouble when she's fighting these murder cases, basically. Lita, would the FBI on the Idaho murder case interview the TikTok user, or would they just see her as loony looking for attention? I could see it going either way. I could see them reaching out, seeing if she has any actual facts. Well, as soon as she told them she's basing it on, mind reading or cards or whatever, I don't think that they would take it very seriously. And yeah, that doesn't exactly hold up in court. Like, you can't ever testify that, I flipped these cards and that told me this is what happened. My Miracle Mama, oh my gosh, Peter, thank you for covering this. That poor teacher. If it's false, which at this point I do believe that she didn't do it, I agree with you. I feel horrible for her. I feel horrible. Nicholas, if you think Brooks's defense was loony, imagine this trial. Sovereign citizen combined with tarot reading cards at the sidebars. I mean, if you read her TikTok or see it, she's very confident, right? Which is always, makes me want to step back and say, does she have something? Does she have some evidence? Did she talk to somebody? Does she know something? I don't know. I don't know the answer, and I don't know her personally. And I haven't followed her TikTok for a long time or watched enough to really, feel like I know for sure. My Miracle Mama, do you think TikTok has culpability? Shouldn't they? I don't think they do, how the laws are set up right now. But as we're seeing, like with these Twitter files and the censoring and, Mark Zuckerberg testifying before Congress, what should they limit? What do they limit? Some states are making TikTok illegal, countries as well, making TikTok illegal. So again, this is new stuff. We need to see what the laws are going to be. I think it's possible that they could have culpability, but I don't think that we're going to see that. Pegasus, if she got her info from another source, can she say she's repeating stuff? Yes. And again, if she has information that led her to believe that this was true, then that could be a defense. But if the information is not reliable, as we say, and she knew or should have known that that was false, and then when she was presented with the true information from the professor's lawyers, a reasonable person would have, gone back on that potentially. Tori, couldn't the fact that she knows so much about the case make her a suspect if her facts are true? I have no idea. I'll leave that to law enforcement and to the investigators if this person should be a suspect. Michelle C., related topic. The owner of this house will likely need to tear down the house. The value of the property has likely declined. How would the standard insurance policy handle this loss? Is the owner likely out of luck? So this completely 100% depends on the insurance policy. What type of stuff does it cover? The damage done to the house as well. Law enforcement coming in and having to take it apart. Are they having to take flooring with them, take furniture with them, whatever it may be? That's something I don't know the answer to without seeing the insurance policy. If I had the insurance policy, I'd absolutely be able to read it and see if I could think that there's some sort of coverage for that. As a person who does tarot card readings, the reading them is how you interpret them based on a lot of the social world. That being said, it would never be okay to use them to solve crimes. They are not that concrete. This is good, Allie. I have no experience at all with them. At all. So, this is important. Even people in the same stratosphere as this TikToker say this is not how you use them. And this is what kind of expert testimony looks like, right? While some people may think that this is total, junk science, people said, or totally, I would never, believe this stuff or whatever. But you could have somebody that actually does it saying, this is not how they're supposed to be used. There's no way you could get this factual of an answer and be this confident about who did this and that this person told them to execute this. No way. John, if Gil doesn't have any money, She probably does with the millions of views on TikTok, but is Gil going to have to pay? Don't you think? I think that there might be a way potentially to see how much she's made on these videos. There's a way. I mean, if she's, I got to be honest, this is another one where money might not be the end goal, but the professor getting the TikToker to recant and say, yes, I lied, or I could be wrong at least, or take the videos down. Things like that would be potentially more important than money, and federal courts can force you to do that. Susan said, I agree with that super chat. I read cards as well, and people can interpret a card differently. And I think saying things like that may be helpful on these TikTok videos. Like, listen, this might not be right, but this is what my card said. Again, that sucks for the professor, and I wish she wouldn't do that. And I wish we wouldn't accuse people of heinous crimes if we didn't really know. But I really don't think we should go accusing people on channels and platforms like this if we don't know. Amy said TikTok's a Chinese-owned company. They do not care. Yeah, I don't know about all the like ownership of TikTok, but I know it's wild, and I don't think it'd be very easy to hold them accountable for anything like this. All right. Let's get to so Dominique said her mom reads them. She doesn't believe in them, but there are different ways to do it. And by the way, I want to say something. When I said they can be arrested for fraud, those cases usually are people that know what they're doing is hogwash and just doing it to tell people something they want to hear to get more money, right? I don't think it's the people that, actually believe that they're doing it the right way or whatever it may be, or most people are not guaranteeing that this is, true or going to happen. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with the fraud. They actually proved that they knew what they were doing and saying was false, which is pretty much how fraud works. All right. First cause of action, defamation, false statements regarding the murders. Realleging those prior paragraphs. Gillard made false and defamatory statements about the murders. The false statements involve criminal accusations. Therefore, they are per se defamatory. There we go. When we were talking about whether or not they hit this element or that element, per se because it's criminal. Gillard knew her statements were false because she had no knowledge about anything happening in Moscow. She further knew her statements were false because they were not based on any facts, because persons commenting on her posts told her they were false, and because Professor Schofield twice sent cease and desist letters telling her they were false. So that's pretty good information, right? You don't have any of your own information. If this is true, right? We don't know if this is true. She may have real information. If you have no information, no facts on your own, people told you it was false in your comments, and the professor through her lawyers told you it was false, and you kept doubling and tripling down, well, knowledge of the falsity can be proven. Gillard's false TikTok defamed Professor Schofield. They were viewed by millions, resulting in her being linked to the murder in basic internet searches. That's horrible. That's definitely damage. As a result of the false statements, her reputation was injured. She was the subject of online ridicule and threats from Gillard's online commenters. She also fears that she or her family will be the target of physical violence. It's horrible. The online nature of Gillard's false statements continues to harm her. She has more than 100,000 followers. One of her TikToks defaming Schofield has 2.5 million likes, indicating the person liked the video. Oh, it's wild that this stuff, like these analytics that we have right in front of us, and on the background, we can see stuff as the creator even more. We have these analytics that could literally be used in court to prove this stuff. She's been damaged. Her reputation's been tarnished. She's suffered extreme emotional stress. I don't really think there's an argument against that. Second claim for relief are the false statements regarding the relationship. She realleges prior statements. Gillard's statements involve moral turpitude, making it per se. Gillard knew her statements were false. Again, no information that she was told multiple times by multiple people. These videos are viewed millions of times, widely reposted on TikTok. The false statements defamed her reputation and her career. She suffered emotional distress. Her reputation suffered has been tarnished. And all this coming from the false accusation about the relationship. So what is she asking? She's asking for attorney's fees that she's been had to pay. I'd have to look at the statute, whether or not this is one that guarantees or statutory attorney's fees, or if it's a prevailing party thing. But either way, she's asking for attorney's fees. Here's the prayer for relief. What else is she asking for? compensatory and punitive damages. Punitive damages, which we saw in the Johnny Depp defamation case as well, to punish this wrongdoing, to send a message to TikTokers, to YouTubers, to social media influencers. You cannot make up lies about people. If they're lies, I'm not saying they are. She could be telling the truth, and if she is, that she could defend herself here. But if you are going online, telling lies, spreading these lies, hurting people, hurting their reputation, and you either knew or should have known that they were a lie, then it should be punished. And the court or the jury should send a message to me and everyone else who does this that you cannot go spreading false facts. Again, I'm not saying that's what Gillard did. I don't know if somebody confessed to her or she found an email or something like that. I hear you, Lindsay. I hear you. And I think that's the way probably it's leaning right now. But I'm just saying, we as social media influencers, I'm including myself, cannot go spreading lies about people on here. It's horrible. It affects their lives and their families. Pre-judgment, post-judgment interest, and all other such relief as the court deems equitable and just. Demand for jury trial. Professor Schofield requests trial by jury of not less than 12 persons. So we're going to have a 12-member jury here. And here it's 3 lawyers. It's funny. It's a little less formal than we have to do it in our signature blocks. But Wendy Olson signed it. And I know one of the TikTok videos, said, oh, you had to get 3 lawyers to do all of this. If you were telling the truth, you wouldn't need 3 lawyers. Or if you were innocent, you wouldn't need 3 lawyers. And we all know how I would feel about a statement like that. All right. Let's read a couple of things here. Meant based on the spiritual world. Okay, tarot cards are only as good as the reader, and their interpretation can be screened by reader's movements. If she is a proficient reader, she knows exactly what she's doing. Okay. The real school psychologist. What if a student said something to her? We don't know much. We don't know. A student could have said something to her. That's what I'm saying. Squab Bob. Come on, Pete. Please explain how this is different from what politicians do for years on end. So politicians accusing people of crimes and specific acts, I think can be a little bit different because they're basing theirs on information that they believe to be true, or at least they have, and they can say this person stole money, or this person, has a laptop, or this person cheated on their taxes, or this person deleted emails, or whatever it may be. That's their interpretation of applying the law to the facts. So I do think it is a little bit different there, but I agree with what you're saying. A lot of times people are throwing stuff out there, and that's why we'll kind of see how this develops. That's what makes this interesting. And again, at the end of the day, it may be a judge or a jury. They're demanding a jury trial. So 12 people in Idaho may end up deciding this. Tori, this type of allegation not only could cost this teacher her job, but it could be taken away and reported to the Department of Education. As a teacher, this hits hard for me. I agree. And regardless, it doesn't seem like anybody is, like she's getting fired or things like that. But I mean, just the fact that your name is now attached to this on a Google search, and that potentially might never go away, it's really sad. Sussex Sandra. This is like the Tasha K and Cardi B case. Profiteering from spreading false information, causing reputational harm, distress, and financial loss. But Tasha K admitted that she knew it was false and kept doing it. Gillard has not done that. John O'Rourke. Could there be a mental issue with Gill not realizing how her post could blow up and this becoming national news, aka ruining lives? I'm not going to say has a deficiency or something like that, but if she does, that could be part of this. It could. Azam. Yes, I did, and I actually did a short on this that's going to post later tonight. All right, let's take a quick look here at the TikTok page. I don't want to play any of them because I don't want to give them, extra views or anything like that. But I just want to show you that you can see from the titles here, Rebecca Schofield versus Ashley Gilliard isn't too far away. The Jack Decor guy that she also accuses with her, Rebecca Schofield, this isn't going to end well for you. Jack Decor. Rebecca Schofield will regret this lawsuit. I'm on fire with excitement. See you in court, Rebecca Schofield. Rebecca Schofield hasn't sued me. Where's the one that was like, yeah, Rebecca Schofield, they're plotting, making moves. And these all have thousands and thousands of views. Arrest them for the murders. Here's what I want to show you. Part 17 of the Who is Rebecca Schofield series. That's horrible. I mean, that's just so tough. That's just so tough if it's not true. Part 14. I mean, like 17 parts. And look at this. And she has 100,000 followers, 2.6 million likes, and just tons and tons of videos. Solving mysterious deaths. And we all know there's a huge community for this stuff. There's a huge amount of people that, here was one that had 1 million views on it, 1.4 million views. Again, talking about the Idaho stuff. So, I mean, this is real. She's building her platform on this. I agree. What about innocent until proven guilty, though? True or not? I agree. That's why when I say stuff on this show, when we talked about Delphi, a lot of people didn't like the way that I talked about that Delphi arrest. But that's how I look at everything, is innocent until proven guilty. I get that they've arrested him. Let's see what happened. Let's see what they have. Let's see why it took so long. What evidence are they working with? And that's how I'll talk about everything, even when a man or woman is sitting there as a criminal defendant in trial until they are convicted, just like we saw Judge Doro do to Daryl Brooks. And so to put stuff out there like this on TikTok, true or not, I would say it's unwise. And, you know, I think that it's hard to deal with a lot of attention or people watching or knowing what you say or liking what you say or want to listen to what you say. And if you do find out who it is, you know, fame, money, all that stuff could come. So I get it. I get it from all sides. I get why it's difficult, but you know, I don't know what the motivation is behind all of this. I would encourage everybody, you know, that is on social media to be respectful always, to be caring, to think about the other person, to treat other people how you want to be treated, regardless of what you think you may know. And it's really tough. It's really tough. So Tina Odell said, I'm curious about the relationship with the two women. Was she a student, or how would she even know her name? So the victim, everybody knows their names at this point. They were never in class together, and it never seems like they had any kind of relationship or even met. And yet the TikToker is saying they had an intimate relationship, and that the student was going to go public or break it off or whatever. And that was the motivation, because you got to have motive, right, for a good story. That's what I think. You got to have motive for a good story. Yeah, Brianna said she's riding the wave. I mean, again, motive. We're talking about motive for why Gillard may have done this. So, you know, this stuff is tough. And this is a federal lawsuit that has been filed. Oh, Tina's asking, how did the TikToker know the professor? I don't know. I'm pretty sure if you go to the University of Idaho, you can look up all of their professors. But who knows? Maybe there's something to it. I don't know. And that's the problem. And that's what's sad, is I have to sit here and say, I don't know. Maybe it's true. I have to say that because I don't know. I can't say that these are lies. I can't say that this is false. I can't say that Rebecca Schofield didn't do it. I don't know. But the only reason her name is attached to that statement is because of this person's TikTok. Yeah, Bodie said all the names are on the website. Yeah. Hiker for Life, is this TikToker a student that doesn't like the professor? It doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like she ever went to the school. And Dominique said she may have just randomly picked a name. That's possible. I mean, we just don't know. Thank you so much, Azam. Yeah, she could have Googled it. She could know. She could have talked to a student. Who the heck knows at this point? But I do find this really interesting. And this is going to be these are going to be the kinds of cases that are going to help me answer questions in the future as to what's the outcome. Because if she gets hit with a huge verdict with punitive damages, we're going to know. If another TikToker or YouTuber or somebody does this in the future, they're going to be looking to the Schofield v. Gillard case. This is how precedent is made. I just read a tweet the other day of 20 things that were not here 20 years ago. And it's so wild to think about. It was like Twitter, Tesla, YouTube, Uber, Google Maps, like everything we do every day, Facebook, Instagram, all this stuff was not here 20 years ago. I don't know if YouTube was on the list, but it was a crazy list. Things change so much in 20 years, and the law is usually a little bit behind. And so we have to catch up, and the lawmaking process is slow. We're talking about this exact type of stuff in our Civil Rules Committee meetings of the Florida Bar. We're talking about getting up with the times and how we do that, and Zoom court and Zoom mediation and potentially Zoom trials. Michael Sharp asks, her tarot card told her history and education, and then she did a tarot card reading of all the professors. Okay, so she looked up all the professors' names, I guess, and the tarot card is what pointed her to this professor. That's tough, man. That's tough. So this is, part one of this story. But as we said, it's a story within a story. And I do think that the investigation finding the real murderer, whoever it is, will have an effect on this case. Because if law enforcement finds an arrest and the prosecutors charge and they try and convict somebody else, it's going to be more evidence that this is false. And will the TikToker recant at that point and say, I was wrong? Or will she still keep going down this road? So hit that like button if you haven't already, if you enjoy this type of content. Subscribe to the page if you want us to keep following this, and hit that reminder bell. John, what did Santa bring those Tragos kiddos? Best have spoiled them some. Oh, we did. We did, and continue to on this trip. Vacation with our family and their cousins. We're all having a great time here. Appreciate it, John. Appreciate all of you. This year has been a ton of fun. It's been awesome. Hopefully at some point this week, we'll do some kind of year in review. I will ask you all what your favorite case we covered was, what your favorite videos were specifically. If you want to send me some of your favorite videos you watched on this channel, @Tragos Law is our handle on TikTok. Sorry, not TikTok. Well, yes, TikTok. We have a TikTok as well. On Instagram and Twitter. I'm never really on TikTok. We do post the videos there if you want to go like them and do all that stuff. But yeah, on Instagram and Twitter, send us messages of your favorite videos from this past year. And at some point, hopefully we'll do a recap maybe this week. We've got some other stuff planned for this week that's going to come out, but I'm glad I was able to do a live and catch up with you all after the holiday. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your time. If some of you are back to work, if some of you are taking vacation time or whatever it may be, my miracle mama will go out with this. If Gillard wanted to help using her apparent psychic abilities, she should have gone to the police with the info. Police often have used psychic info behind the scenes. There's a whole show on it, right? And again, that can point them in a direction, and then they have to go find admissible evidence that can play out in court to prove it. And that's fine with me, whatever works, right? K-Rab, if the cops arrest someone, could their defense use this TikToker to bring up doubt? I don't know if they want to bring up that if she had information, yes. If she talked to witnesses, yes. I don't know if they're going to want to rely on her reading cards. But who knows? Maybe it's going to be a new kind of defense people use. I don't think it would be. If I'm judging from our chat, I don't think there's a single person that's buying it in our chat. So Adam said TikTok's ruining the country. Shut it down. A bunch of countries are shutting it down. All right, folks. This was fun. I'm glad we were able to do this. Again, difficult topic. I don't mean the topic is fun. But talking to you guys, hanging out with you guys is fun. We learn a lot together. We will be following this. So hit that like button on your way out. I'm out of here.